Hello friends! If you've been fiddling with vintage Macs for any time at all, you know they always have problems requiring repair. And when you go online and ask for help, someone will inevitably say to check the voltages. But what if you don't have a voltmeter? Or even know how to use one? Or what if you have one and know how to use it, but you need another one? Or what if you're just too lazy to open up your vintage Mac like this? Well, today I'm happy to show you the solution called Macometer. Macometer was co-developed by Joakim Larsson, based in Sweden, Jake, also known as JJohn547, over at the 68K MLA Forum, based in the USA, and Will of KMac Vintage, based in the Cayman Islands. Both Will and Joakim very kindly answered my many questions about their nifty little device, and I certainly appreciate their help. Macometer was first announced in the 68K MLA Forum in mid-April this year, and I've put a link to that thread for you in the text description below. The device I'm showing you today is the smaller second generation model. Using Macometer is surprisingly simple. Just plug it into the back of any Mac with an external floppy disk drive connector, even if the power is on. Macometer instantly gives you the results. Positive voltages are in red, and the negative voltage, if available, is in blue. Note that when testing on an SE30 like this or a Macintosh Portable, the negative voltage display is blank because these Macs don't output negative voltage. You can also connect Macometer to an external disk drive which has a pass-through connector on back, like this A9 MO106. Macometer has been verified to work on the 128K, 512K, 512KE, Plus, SE, SE30, Portable, 2CI, and Classic. One nifty thing about this meter is that it has a mini DIN 4 connector, also known as ADB. And if you buy the Macometer with the optional mini DIN adapter, you can grab any ADB cable you already have, even a keyboard cable, to act as an extension cable between the Macometer and adapter. And this allows you to move Macometer around more freely. But keep in mind that even though there's an ADB cable connected here, Macometer is not an ADB device. So you don't want to connect this end of your ADB cable to the ADB port on your Mac. Nothing bad will happen if you do, but it won't measure any voltages that way. Again, the reason there is an ADB port on the Macometer in the first place is simply for convenience. So you can grab any ADB cable you might have to act as an extension cable. That's it. Note, however, that if you have the old 1984 edition Macintosh 128K or a 512K like mine that only says Macintosh on the back case badge and doesn't also show 128K or 512K in red, the Macometer fits just fine, but the adapter model that I have won't. It just won't attach. It may look attached, but it's really not. The problem is this bottom lip, a piece of protruding plastic, goes up very close to the connector, such that the case on the adapter has this piece of protruding plastic which touches it, and that prevents the adapter from sliding into the connector all the way. On the newer 128K and 512K models which have the red text on back, this lip isn't quite as tall, and so the adapter fits in just fine on those models. The workaround is to remove the back case, which then makes it very easy to install the adapter all the way. Will told me that this case compatibility issue might be resolved in the near future by tweaks to the adapter's 3D printed case, so keep an eye on the Coffee Store product page for updates. For the purpose of checking Macometer accuracy, I have a special ADB cable connected here that Joakim very kindly made for me. This is just basically an ADB cable with one connector hacked off and all four wires are coming out, but he did the very nice thing of adding gold-plated pins. And what this does is it allows me to verify the accuracy of Macometer by connecting a higher accuracy meter, as you can see here, 5 digits of accuracy. And we can see that this is now measuring the middle display. On Macometer, it's showing 5.10 volts. And on my 121GW multimeter, it's showing 5.11 volts approximately. And that's within specifications because Macometer's middle display here has plus or minus 10 millivolts of accuracy. And I now have it wired to connect the top display to the multimeter here, and we see that the Macometer says 12.1 volts. My high accuracy meter is saying 12.14, and that's within specifications because the outer display here has plus or minus 100 millivolts of accuracy. And last but not least, I now have it wired to check the negative voltage, and we see that on my high accuracy meter it's negative 12.67, and on the Macometer it's 12.6. And again, this meter down here with the blue has plus or minus 100 millivolts of accuracy. Now let's take a look inside by removing the 4 screws that are on the bottom. And we see we have our 3 displays, and we have our ADB connector, and then our main floppy disk connector here. And each of the displays is very conveniently mounted with these plastic screws. So let's go ahead and take these off. And we can see that the displays each have 3 wires attached, and the circuitry is on the bottom here, right? Just like that. And one of the nice things about this design is you saw how, well, some people may say it was reversed, the direction that you might want it, but you can either leave it in the factory condition, which means you're going to have to look, the back of the Mac will be facing this way, and that's how you'll have to look at it. Or you can just flip these around 180 degrees and screw it back down, and that way you can look at it from facing the back of the Mac. Now, I was able to flip all of them around, but the display closest to the ADB connector was the most challenging because the wires come out on that side when you flip it, and there's not really enough gap between the display and the back of the connector. And that results in the black wire being smashed. And that's really not ideal. It works in that condition, but it's best not to have smashed wires. So I spoke to Will about this, and he said they will evaluate possibly moving the connector more this way to leave a bigger gap, and that will allow the display here to be switched to flipped 180 degrees without any wire smashing. So taking a closer look at the circuit board, we see we've got a Holtec MCU, which is microcontroller. We have this little guy over here, which is a 7133H. This is a 3.3 volt voltage regulator. And then we have these tiny guys over here. It says 331, so these are 330 ohm little resistor blocks here that have multiple resistors inside, and that's because on the opposite side we have an LED display, so you need a resistor for each one of the segments in that display. Not sure what this component is here. Could be a MOSFET of some sort. We've got the capacitors and resistors and other little components on the board, and then we have this pot, a potentiometer, and this is for calibration. Now, I was told that these are calibrated prior to shipping, which they ought to be, but should you find it drift over time, or if you find it's inaccurate because you've tested it with another meter, all you need is a little plastic plus driver tool to twist this, and then you can adjust the accuracy of it very easily. And all of the other LED segments have the same circuitry that you're seeing here. ADB connector on board is just your standard metal frame ADB, nothing too special about it. And the floppy drive side connector is a bit special because it's 3D printed. And the pins, which on mine anyway are gold plated, these were put in by hand by Joakim. Now, mine was printed with nylon, but I was told that all of the shipping models other than mine are going to ship with resin. And the thickness is supposed to be 1.0 millimeters. Mine is a little bit thicker than that, which can make it a challenge to plug in at times, but the thinner version should eliminate any kind of connecting problems. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the wall thickness of this 3D printed connector is supposed to be 1.0 millimeters. On mine, I have an early model that's printed out of nylon, and it's about 1.25, so it's a little bit thicker than what you're probably going to get. But I just wanted to mention that through no fault of mine, there's more of a gap you can see here on the bottom of the connectors on my SC30 than there is at the top. And for a metal connector, the wall thickness on metal connectors is like 0.4 millimeters, so it's no problem, even though the connector comes right up against the case on that. But it sometimes takes a little extra effort, a little extra force for me to get it in on this particular machine. It goes in though, but it just takes a little extra force just due to the close proximity of the connector to the top part of the plastic case here. And I don't foresee this as a problem. I'm just wanting to mention it as my experience on this 3D printed connector. But if yours is actually 1.0 millimeters, then even if your connector is kind of pushed up against one of the edges, it should probably fit in just fine. And here's how it looks with the displays flipped. I think most people would probably like it this way. But it's up to you if you want to flip them or not. Now, I should mention that if you do see any flickering, it's just due to my camera setting, and when you buy this in real life, you're not going to see the displays flicker. That's number one. Number two, the off segments, the segments that are not lit up, appear on camera to be a little bit brighter than they are in real life. But technically they are transparent, and they are a little bit like a light gray color in contrast to the background black. So it can be a little bit hard to read in certain lighting situations. I don't want to say it's hard to read, but it's not perfect, and the only way to fix it would be using something like a polarizing filter like this. But honestly, I don't know how you do it. It's not really practical to put a filter on it, but that is what I did on my frequency counter when I did a K-Koba's Spicio clock, because these LED segments are very bright white, and without a polarizing filter on it, it would look very, very difficult to see. So it's not these displays are not nearly as bad as this cheap frequency counter is, but still, under certain lighting situations, you may find that there's not quite enough darkness there to satisfy your taste. Although Macometer is very easy to use, it's important to understand how to properly interpret the measurements. Whenever you measure directly at the external floppy disk drive port, you're going to find voltages are going to be a bit lower than if you were to have measured directly at the analog power supply board. And the reason why is because you have a tiny amount of resistance in the cabling that leads from the power supply to the motherboard, and then you have additional resistance in the traces of your motherboard and any add-on boards you might have, which results in a voltage drop at the floppy disk connector. For example, on an SC30 motherboard with a power-hungry accelerator installed, like this Daystar 50 MHz 68030 power cache, it's possible to measure a rock-solid 5.04 volts at the analog board. In this case, I'm measuring through the hard disk drive power connector. But then we measure something much less at the external floppy drive port. In this case, about 4.8788 volts. Now, this is no fault of the Macometer. I've confirmed this voltage with my good high-resolution meter. And this is no fault of the power supply either, because I replaced the stock power supply with a Seasonic that's much more powerful. Please be sure to see my video all about that. Even the Apple Tech Step recognizes that voltage drop through the motherboard exists by saying in its documentation that voltages of 4.80 volts and higher are considered to be normal. Now it says the Classic here, but that of course applies to the SC, the SC30, other compact Macs as well. And again, that's in part due to sometimes you have an optional card that's installed, and there is a voltage drop that is considered to be normal through the motherboard. Now, voltages that are much lower than this, note that we're getting 4.90 volts now. At the analog board, it was it was 5.04 volts, so we're getting a 0.14 volt drop through all of the cabling and the motherboard itself. That's not a problem at all, and it's to be expected. So the point of this is, what I'm trying to say is that when using Macometer, don't panic if you see something at the floppy drive connector here that is lower than 5 volts. it's perfectly fine. Even down to 4.8 volts, fine. If you're getting down to 4.7 volts, 4.6, 4.5 volts, especially if the voltage is not stable like this, if it's fluctuating wildly up and down, then you probably need to replace the capacitors in your power supply or upgrade the power to supply to a more powerful version like I did. But just keep in mind that the more power you're drawing through PDS cards or other accelerators or other add-ons, the lower that the voltage might be when you measure using Macrometer at your external floppy disk drive connector. Overall, I really like the Macrometer, and that's why I made this video, because I thought some of you might like it too. If you're located in the US or Canada, you can pick one up for $35 US plus shipping at the KMAC coffee store, or $45 plus shipping if you want the adapter too. Keep in mind this webpage info may change over time. Also, if you're based in Asia or Europe, currently the coffee store only supports North America, and there's no dedicated web store for Asia and Europe. So what you need to do is send an email to get a price quote, and I've put that information in the text description below. I was also told that if orders from Asia and Europe increase, then they would probably make a dedicated web store at that time, but for now, it's done by email. Now, if you're based in the United States, you're probably asking yourself if the Macrometer, without the optional adapter, is worth $42, which is what it costs in total if you add the $7 for shipping. And you might also be saying to yourself, well, doesn't a place like Banggood or AliExpress sell a dirt cheap multimeter like this for only $10? And the answer is yes, it only costs $10 shipped. And so is there really a value proposition here? And I think there is, because especially for those of you who don't have a lot of electronics experience and are a little bit intimidated by meters, well, the Macrometer is fast and easy to use, and in most cases you don't even need to open the case of your vintage Mac. With a regular multimeter, it has two probes, and you're going to have to figure out a way to probe into the connectors or in other places, and it could be that you might short circuit something by accident and cause the magic smoke to appear. But with Macrometer, that's not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen at all. So you're paying for peace of mind, ease of use, for speed, and it's a pretty neat looking gizmo too. But even more than that, you're also supporting the three brilliant gentlemen who created it. And no doubt that will further inspire them to bring us more great gadgets in the future. Speaking of which, I happen to have a few here. As I mentioned at the end of my last video on the Fat Mac switcher, they also have ROM sims for popular vintage Macs like the SE30 and others. And they also have a ROM sim programmer, which currently is sold nowhere else in the world. Big Mess of Wires used to sell them, but he ended sales a number of years back, and they basically resurrected it. So this is a pretty neat combo. And they also have 30-pin 4 megabyte RAM sims for, again, computers like the SE30, which are not in a kit. You can just buy them like this and install them with no soldering required. Now, to keep this video short, I'm not going to say anything more about these gadgets, but stay tuned for another video where I dive into the details. Thank you for watching today, folks. I certainly appreciate your time today, and I wish all of you a wonderful week. Bye-bye.